Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to this Unbreakable Self-Training session. I'm your host, Dr. Dave. In this training session, we're going to dive into the power of habit, understanding how we act, why we react, so that ultimately we can become in control of our actions, get better results, ultimately better situations in our life. Let's dive into it right now. All right, guys, welcome back. In this section, again, we're talking about exactly the power of habit. We're going to talk about cues. We're going to talk about reaction, why our brain does what it does, how to get better action, ultimately get better results. This is step number 5 in the Unbreakable Mind model. Now, if you haven't watched the other videos, start at number 1. Again, this is a big story that I tell. And so if you understand the story, then you're going to understand how to take better action, how to get better results in your life. This is information that I wish I had when I was going through my journey. You see a lot of gurus out there. They're all talking about how to be more productive, how to get better action, how to do these things. And that's probably how you found this. You probably found this because you want to be more productive. That's exactly what we're going to talk about right now. But very, very, very important to note that we live in this cycle. This is how the mind functions. This is how the mind-body connection works. There's the thinking aspect, the statement, the meaning. There's the emotional aspect, the feeling. Then there's a reaction. Then we get a result. We see the situation, we observe it, and ultimately we continue on down the line. Now, I kept thinking, this is the biggest pitfall that a lot of us have. I kept thinking if I'm more productive, then I'll get better results, then I'll feel better about myself. But what was happening is that I wasn't going into this section here, the thinking aspect of it, and truly creating the bridge between thinking and feeling, which is the meaning we put to ourselves. And so I kept getting the same lackluster results in my life. I wasn't truly stopping and admitting to myself where I was broken. And until I did that, then I could finally step forward into that level of courage that we talked about in the emotional state and ultimately get results and then become what I call unbreakable. Now again, unbreakable doesn't mean that you can't be broken, but unbreakable means that you understand how to get results, how to think correctly, how to feel correctly, how to act correctly, how to get better results, because no matter what happens in that point, it literally doesn't matter. You know exactly how to get the best results you want in your world. Now, let's talk about action. I say reaction, but reaction is there because you'll understand this here in a second. There's 3 levels of mind. There's a reptilian brain, there's the mammalian brain, and then there's the neocortex. These 3 layers of mind. The reptilian brain is at the base of the brainstem. So this is the reason that we have respiration, we have blood pressure, we have the autonomic nervous system. This goes down, this creates your spinal cord, and then ultimately the nerve roots into every cell, tissue, and organ in your body. This is very, very, very important to note. This is like the transmitter, the reptilian brain. This is interested in 4 things. The 4 things it's interested in is just avoiding pain, fornicating, eating food, and conserving energy. That's it, right? Can I eat it? Is it going to eat me? Will it cause me pain? Can I have sex with it? That's it. That's all your brain is doing, literally all day. And you're probably thinking that's kind of funny, but that's kind of true. You're gonna observe the world now from that context, and be like, oh yeah, I've been thinking that. Especially for men, we have this we just always are thinking, can I have sex with that? Can I eat that? Is it gonna hurt me? Okay, when can I sit down? Those 4 things. That's all we want to do, right? That's the reptilian brain. Now the mammalian brain is the brain at which we feel. Reptilian brain is the level at which we kind of ride and function and we just go through the world. Again, those 4 things. The mammalian brain is a little bit newer. It's the limbic system, the amygdala. It's the place at which we feel emotion. We experience the world through emotion. Again, and we're not even just a low-level mammal. That's why animals like dogs and horses, they experience the world. In fact, there's some really cool research coming out about orca whales, that they have a larger limbic brain than we do, so they experience emotion that much more. Can you imagine that? I mean, it's hard enough living as a Homo sapien, but can you imagine living and experiencing emotion that much more? That's why they're social animals the same way we are, because we experience the world in that context. And then the neocortex, that prefrontal cortex, that new part of our brain, is there to be that rational center, to have higher level thought, to be able to do things like mathematics and create language and to create this computer that you're watching, or this tablet or phone that you're watching on, to be able to transmit this information from where I am standing right now in this point in history to get to you. That's a pretty cool thing, and the only way we can do that is through the higher level thought. Now, here's the interesting thing. I talked about this in the first lesson, is understanding that this is how we function, right? We typically function from the reptilian brain, but if we can get out of that, if we can start to alter the way we perceive the world through this, by going into things like statement and meaning, the emotion that we're observing the world, we can actually start stepping back into our prefrontal cortex and taking better action. And so that's what we're going to talk about today, or in this lesson right now. So the way we understand action, again, you probably got here because you want to get better results in your life, you want to be more productive, and that's totally how you can do that, is understanding why you act the way you act. You probably have noticed that if I gave you a challenge, let's say it's working out, and it said, all right, you got to be healthy. How are you going to be healthy? You probably tell me, oh, I got to eat this way, I got to work out this way, I got to do this. And it's like, you know what you need to do. It's like, you know exactly what you need to do, but why do you stop yourself? Now, again, it's like this whole cycle. Typically, we stop ourselves because of the meaning and the emotion we put to the meaning, which is I might not be safe being healthy. I might not be safe working out because working out is painful, or, I'm the awkward kid in high school that didn't know how to work out, or whatever. It doesn't matter what it is. So you put an emotional state to it, and then once you put an emotional state to it, then that cues you to take a certain action. Again, it puts you right back into your reptilian brain, your brain stem, and so then that creates the action. Okay, so if we can control this, the brain stem, even the limbic system, this is what we consider our subconscious mind. We don't have to think about breathing. We just breathe. We don't have to think about making sure our blood pressure is correct. We don't have to think about our respiration. We don't think about our digestion. It just does it, right? That is the brain stem. That's what's happening. So that's our subconscious mind. Now, here's a really cool thing, and I'm going to touch on this for a second. Breath. The idea of breath is the link between subconscious and conscious mind. So one of the easiest ways, again, we're going from emotion into action. One of the easiest ways to get in control of your state of emotion to take a better action is breath, period. And we talk about breath a lot in the academy. If you're not a part of the academy, click on the link below. You can dive into the academy. I dive into the exact the what in this lesson, but we're going to dive into the exact how in each one of those lessons in the academy. So if you want to be part of the academy, dive into that. But let's go back to breath. Breath is that link. It's that link between conscious and subconscious mind. Again, we talk about subconscious programming. This is that major step. So if you can understand breath, then you can control yourself enough, even in the short term, to take a better action. That doesn't mean that you're going to change everything in the short term. I'm just saying, like, that is the easiest link to just stop yourself, and then you can go into the statement, the meaning. You can start peeling away all the layers. You go into your traumas, all the stuff that you'll understand in the Unbreakable Spirit course. But at least you can stop yourself and realize, okay, breath is the link between conscious and subconscious mind. And if I could do that, if I can get there, then I can take a better action. Again, we want to take better action. We want to know how to be a better human. So this is how we can do this. Now, in Charles Duhigg's book, The Power of Habit, there's also another book called Atomic Habits by James. I think it's James Clear. You can Google fact that really quick. They identified the cycle. They kind of like linked this entire cycle into like 3 things, which I don't really find to be applicable, but it's really important to note regardless what the 3-step process is. They identified as there's going to be a cue or a reminder. Now that cue or reminder, that's what this is right now. So there's a reminder, a reaction, a result, and at the end of the day, there's going to be a reward, which is going to create the emotional state. So I'm going to write that in. So we're going to put reward in the middle. And then this is going to create this. So this is how you create a habit loop. Now, again, they kind of totally missed on this entire process. They don't even talk about the emotional state in these books, but they talk about these things, okay? So we, being emotional beings, we experience the world being emotional beings. We experience the world from our limbic system, and then we tell our subconscious mind what to do. Again, our brainstem rather. This is all subconscious, and so we just want to feel the feels, right? We want to feel better. That's all we're trying to go after. We're trying to feel better. In fact, we're actually trying to avoid pain. That's really what we're trying to do because of our brainstem. At the end of the day, all we're trying to do is avoid pain and try to, just not use energy. So what happens is that we're trying to raise this state of emotion without subconsciously, and we're doing it from old paradigms, old belief systems. And what happens is we have a cocktail of biology going on in our body. In neurotransmitters, we'll have hormone, and all that together could be the angle of the sun. I know it sounds weird, but it's so fascinating what will cause you to take an action or create a habit. Is there will be a cue. Typically that cue is an emotional state. You're going to act a certain way. You're going to get a certain result, and then that result is going to give you a reward. That reward typically is the avoidance of pain. The avoidance of pain is generally a reward that we get. Again, I say generally, but that's the point. Again, we're just trying to avoid pain because of our reptilian brain. So if we reach for a bottle of alcohol, the cue is I experience pain. I experience pain because I never processed my wife leaving me. Let's just use that as an example. My wife's still with me. I know Jenny's watching this right now. So we experience the pain of my wife left me. The reaction is I'm going to reach for the bottle. The result is I'm now a little bit buzzed. The reward is I don't feel that feeling as much anymore. That's a reward. So that's how we fall into the dark side. Again, we talked about in the emotional section, we talked about getting to the top of the emotion, and you realize that pain, you're there, right? That's pride. And so if you get to that point of pride, what's going to happen is you're not going to actually shed your skin. You're going to just try to avoid the pain. And the way you avoid the pain is you stay in the dark side, using substance, using food, using whatever, and so you're there. Now, this is just the way we create habits. You could use this same mechanism to create a positive habit, and you just have to give yourself the reward. You have to know what the reward is. You have to pat yourself on the back and say, I'm a stronger person. Let's say it's 10 push-ups. But if you understand this, then you can be in control at least of your habits so you can be more productive. So that just being alone, that alone can make you more productive, can get you better results. Because we always know it takes action. You can't just think your way to the top. But that's the whole point of Think and Grow Rich, that book by Napoleon Hill. He understood the whole thing. But in fact, he understood this. But what is really happening is all of this is going on. And oftentimes, we'll get caught into this. This is where you get caught, where so many people get caught, is that they'll be caught in the reaction, the result. They'll get a reward, which is an emotion. They haven't stopped to announce the situation. They haven't observed it. They haven't looked at the statement they tell themselves. They haven't created the meaning or identified the meaning to that thing. They haven't looked at the emotional state, and then ultimately they get caught into this. This is the catch of the reptilian mind. This is the subconscious mind at play. That's it. So you can program that. How long does it take? The research shows us around 40 days. That's it. 45 days, anywhere between that. Around 40 days. 40 days and 40 nights. You've heard that term before. Okay. So you got to go off into the desert, the proverbial desert. What does the proverbial desert mean? That means stepping away from the situation. That means separating yourself. That's why the practice in Christianity of Lent is such. You're fasting from the reward. You're fasting from the emotion, right? Why people get rid of things like candy. And we think about that now, we're thinking, man, that is silly. Why am I just getting rid of candy? Well, maybe that's their reward for feeling better. So the whole point of evolving yourself is to step away from the reward system, period. So that's the neuroscience, if you want to call it, of spirituality, of these religious practices. There's fasting practices are part of all religions. All religions have a fasting practice. There's a point to that. There's neuroscience behind it because they understood this, but nobody put it into context for you. Again, you're trying to step away from the reward system. So what you have to do, if you want to break this, you have to do what we've been talking about, which is identify the emotion in the academy. We talk about exactly how to do that. Step into the emotion itself, step into the emotion, identify it, and then step away from the emotion, knowing what the emotion is. Then you can create your own cue. Your own cue could be a rubber band around your wrist. It could be whatever. You've stated a new action, and then you get a new result, and then you give yourself a new reward. That's it. Now, if you're living in, let's use cookies as an example. If you're living in, I'm going to reach for a cookie, and the emotion is I feel poorly because I'm overweight, and the cue is I get home and I'm hungry, and I feel these feelings, and you reach for a cookie, and then you're going to feel more of this. What you can do is you can actually stop that and change the action. Instead of reaching for a cookie, you could reach for the floor and do 10 push-ups. That's it. So that's one of the easiest ways to just step outside of this cue, of this habit loop. So that's it. So when you're in this habit loop, you're in your reptilian brain. Again, when you're in this habit loop, you're in your reptilian brain. This is the subconscious mind at work. How to stop this and what you need to do, one of the easiest ways is breath. I'm going to write that down. Breathing. This is the link between the conscious and subconscious mind. So breath, number one, identify new action. Identify what action you will take. You know you're going to get a result. We know that if we do push-ups instead of eat a cookie, we're going to get a different result. So do some push-ups. You're going to get a new result. And then you have to give yourself a reward. You have to be the one to give yourself a reward. The reward cannot just be, I feel better. But you might tell yourself, I feel better about myself. You might feel physically poor in the moment. Obviously, it's painful to do push-ups more than just eat a cookie. But you got to literally pat yourself on the back. I'm saying literal. I mean like literally, like I did a good job. I'm proud of myself. That's it, okay? And so that is super important to note. Super important to note. So if you're here, you're only in your subconscious mind. If you want to reprogram your subconscious mind, if you want to get more productive, and that's why you're here, again, think about the new action you're going to take. Identify the cue that you're going to give yourself. Typically, it's an emotional state. You're going to notice, like, I'm in this emotion. Stop yourself, identify new action, take a new action, give yourself a new reward. If you're in that cycle and you don't know how to get out, just stop and breathe. Just stop and breathe. And again, in the academy, I talk about specific breath patterns, exactly what to do, how to breathe correctly, just all that stuff, okay? So this is the link between conscious and subconscious mind. If you want to change your subconscious mind, reprogram your subconscious mind, just breathe. Start there, step away from the emotion. We talked about that in the last lesson, and ultimately get out of this cycle. And I just gave you a bunch of examples and ideas of how to get out of this cycle. Again, if you just get out of that reptilian brain, once you do that, again, now you got to go back and you got to do all this other stuff. You're probably noticing, holy crap, man, this is a lot of information. And it is. This took me 10 years of struggle to figure out. All these gurus are out there. Be positive thought, right? Positive statement, affirmation. The affirmation guys are out there, right? Just the feel better guys are out there. What's the feel better guys? In fact, Advil is a feel better, right? Drugs is a feel better. Alcohol is a feel better, right? But those aren't positive, right? Those aren't going to truly change your life. You're just going to step away from the emotion. That's not the way to go. This is the way to go. All right? Understand the cue, understand the reaction, results, etc. Okay. This was amazing. Now I don't need to go into the next step of a result because that equals the situation. But what I want to do for just a quick second is help you just look at all this stuff. And I'm gonna go back, I'm gonna review everything for you. If you're not part of the academy and you want to dive into the actual practices of all of these things, go into the academy or into the description, click the link, dive into the academy. In that, you're going to be able to get all these practices. You're going to understand what it means to be unbreakable, what that looks like, how to be unbreakable, all of those things. And ultimately, you're going to be able to then take action in a way that suits you to get better results, to get a better situation, ultimately to get a better life. Again, being unbreakable doesn't mean that you're just going to get awesome results. Yes, you will get better results as time goes on, but being unbreakable means that you can still get punched in the face, but you know how to get back up and you know exactly what to do. It's a really positive place. That's freedom. That's true freedom. So sign up for the academy, be part of the tribe. We're looking for awesome people like yourself, people that are doing this. Regardless if you are watching this, please share this information. I genuinely want everybody in the world to know this, because all the positive talk gurus are out there. The meditation gurus are out there. They're just saying be non-attached, right? Don't be attached, but they're not telling you all these things. We don't live in an unattached world. Yes, I would love to live in an ashram in Nepal and just sit there and meditate, but we can't do that. We have to live our life, and this is what happens. And so if we know this stuff, now we can take positive action. We know exactly what we need to do in order to be our best self, do our best work, and ultimately live our best life. You guys have been amazing. Thank you so much for sticking all this out. Again, share, subscribe, join the academy, you guys. I love you all. Stay unbreakable out there. I'll see you in the next lesson. Have an awesome one.